So in my house, we have Easter coming up. So we celebrate Easter. We could do a whole video on that topic. But my son being in second grade, one of the things we do is, the Easter bunny's coming and got to get him a basket and get some candy, maybe a toy, hide some eggs, that whole thing. So I was thinking about that recently. It made me think in general about holidays, Christmas, Easter for us, where we do that kind of thing, right? Tooth Fairy falls into it too. Where we kind of lie to our kids, and we tell them there's this, magical, whether it be Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny or Tooth Fairy, whatever it is that comes and brings them cool stuff and makes life exciting. And the first thing I was thinking about was like how kind of cool that is from a kid perspective. The idea that in their world, there is a genuine, real possibility, and they're almost pretty certain that the world is such where like that exists, where the world we live in, the universe we lived in, is that amazing, that cool, that magical, that there are things like that, like the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus, that do come and do this amazing stuff and bring gifts and bring candy or whatever. Like how amazing that must be. Like if you believe that's real and possible, the opportunities, the expectations, the hope you have for what life is and what this world is so amazing. And it made me a little jealous, but also a little happy. Like that's part of what makes kids. That's the magic of it all, because they genuinely believe that. And then I was starting to think about how it's sad. Eventually, we're going to hit a point where our son doesn't believe that anymore, where he eventually gets logical enough or rational enough, or somebody just tells him, and he comes to the realization of like, well, that's clearly not real. Like I was clearly crazy to believe that some guy travels the world in one night and brings everybody toys. And that made me a little sad at first. I was like, well, that's sad that they lose that magic. But then as I do, I started kind of following the logical thread of like, well, I wonder because I can't remember. Like I remember when my brother told me Santa wasn't real anymore, but I don't remember my reaction to it. And as I was thinking about that, I started thinking like, I think my reaction was like, it wasn't overwhelmingly like shock or confusion or sadness that, this magic wasn't real. It was just like, well, there's still gifts though. Like the reason why the magic was exciting was because it gave us this amazing thing. It gave us these really cool gifts and all this cool stuff happened. And like, that was still there. And that's like, again, a little bit sad to think that way, that's how like materialistic I was or what have you. But it led me to think like, so there's this first kind of magical lie we tell to our kids initially. We tell them Santa's real, we tell them the Easter Bunny's real, we have all this excitement around it, and we do it for good reason, as I said, right? So, and we could debate whether that's a good lie to tell or not. But what I think is actually much more relevant is the second kind of quote unquote magical lie we tell our kids related to this, which is once they realize that it's not true. And again, I can only speak for myself and kind of my family and people I know, but once the kids realize that's not true, it's not real, we keep doing it. We keep celebrating Christmas in a way in which there's tons of gifts under the tree, and same thing with Easter, there's still hidden eggs, etc. Because that's what we do, right? We want to do right by our kids. But that second magical lie, like what's the implication of that? What's the consequence of that? And first, I guess I should say, what is the lie? What am I talking about when I say the second magical lie? I think it's that the world is such that things are good. The things we want, we get. The fact that our parents, right? Because once you make that realization that Santa's not real, you realize like, holy shit, my parents go through a lot of trouble to spoil the shit out of me and buy me a bunch of stuff, decorate the house, make it all magical, build this whole, complex lie, make sure we don't see the gifts, make sure they put them out at the right time, convince us that Santa came. They go through a lot of work to make us feel and believe that the world is magical. And that's a good thing in many ways, but I think there's some unexpected or unintended or maybe intentional consequences of it that aren't great. This lie that's the way the world works, right? If our parents are willing to do all that for us, right? And you contrast it from what they tell us on a day-to-day basis normally, or at least I do with my son. I'm like, no, you can't just get a toy because you want it. You have to earn it. You have to appreciate it. There's a value to things. You need to understand that value. But then we go and give them all these gifts for holidays under the guise that it's, something magical. I think the lesson that teaches them is that, the world is pretty magical. And as they get older, there's a danger in that, I think. To believe the world is magical, but there's no magic, right? It's one thing if you believe in Santa, and that's your thought. But to believe the world is magical and good when there isn't any magic involved. It's just people that make it happen. And that belief or that dependency or that expectation that that will continue in life, I think can be super detrimental. And again, I can only speak for myself, but I think I lived a lot of my life generally believing that, like, yeah, things are good, things work out. And they do sometimes, but it's not magic, and it's not a given, and it's not because people do it for you, right? It's just life. It just is what it is. And with that second magical lie, right, the one that I believed for a long time, that things do just work out and things are okay, you can find yourself in this groove or in this path where you don't actually drive any change yourself because you expect that second magical lie to kick in. You expect that something magical will happen and will make this all work out and make this all the better. And you could spend a lot of time, arguably your whole life, waiting for that to kick in, that second magical lie piece to kick in, rather than doing something yourself and changing it yourself. So probably a more convoluted and like abstract view of a simple holiday and, Easter for my son in second grade. But these are the things that I think sometimes we take for granted and we don't think enough about. And it's not to say everything I'm saying here is right and I should totally change the way we do it and forget about Easter. As with everything, it's just be thoughtful, be deliberate, know why, understand the potential implications, and try and make the best decisions we can.